Hi, I'm Nick Gardner from the Goldsmith Group, and today we're going to be looking at the stables built in Trent Park, all the restoration involved in the most state-of-the-art 18th century building in the area. This must be one of the only stables buildings in the United Kingdom that had its own post box and postal service. Back in the days before email and phone, post was the only way to communicate with people in the outside world. There were lots of parties, high status, hunting events, and as we can see, it's got VR, which signifies Victoria Regina, Queen Victoria. So this is a very old post box dating from the 1860s. The facades were of very high status to show off the incredible wealth of the families that owned it at the time. Here we have some of the original stone Gothic windows, and these were made with small little panels very similar to a church window that had stained in. In this case they had small critter windows put in. I am not convinced that these windows started life here. They may have started life in a much grander property and then be installed here later. But these are the ones that were fitted and installed in the 1860s in the Victorian fit out. Again, with large stone seals, mullion rails, mid rails, very high spec features for a stable block. This building was very, very imposing back in 1860s. And when, majority of people lived in poor conditions, this would have been a real grand status symbol. During the Sassoon era of this stables building, this was used as the garage for his cars. So there was an opening cut in the wall between here and here. This was so cars and carriages could be driven straight in here. There was a big vehicle maintenance pit underneath, and these snazzy, classy cars were brought in here and maintained and garaged for whenever he wanted to get out to the aerodrome or a trip into London, which was only 10 miles away. But we've brought this facade back to the original 1860s Victorian standards. This is the music room that was added to the stables buildings in the 1920s during the Sassoon family era of the house. These great big elliptical arch windows and full height sliding sash windows which complemented the very high floor to ceiling space in here. This room was used for little jazz concerts, little concertos, little plays, and then eventually when the university took it over, they used it as their own nightclub and held functions in here. This was also used during the POW camp era, where the German prisoners of war would come over here in the evenings and play piano and sing songs. So this has got to be the most unique feature of the stables building, the bell stroke clock tower. Again, very Gothic design, very Victorian. Everybody working in the area could see the time, and when the bell rang it was time to go to work. It was also used after the Sassoon era, during the period it was a prisoner of war camp, as a watchtower for the mansion house behind it. This will be an absolutely unique feature to have its very own bell tower and clock. This is stable building 4, which goldsmiths are using as an on-site workshop to restore and recreate the stone windows. Here we have the production of the timber moulds. This is the inside of one of the moulds. We carefully cut these chamfers from softwood, which goes onto a frame made from buffalo board ply. We pour the contents in with reinforcing bar, lock them all together, and then stand them up and let them set. This has now been fully poured with the sharp sand, Portland white cement and crushed concrete, and then compacted in to make a mould. This takes 3 to 5 days to dry, and then the cast is taken off, and then we'll end up with the reverse impression, the moulds here. As we unwrap the moulds carefully. The shutter has formed the exact shape in there for these very, very delicate curves and angled sections, and then we cut them down with a wet saw, and then these sections are fitted together individually into an opening to recreate the stone Victorian windows. So here we have one of the openings that was actually all the way down to the ground there, because this was suitable for the actual horses to come in and out of the stables. So this brickwork infill has been completed to turn this doorway into a window, so it's a usable space for the new living apartment, for the new apartment in the stables buildings. So all this brickwork has been carefully cut and tooved in to match the original structure and pattern. So we've had to carefully, painstakingly get old bricks and clean them all off so they can all match in with the original Victorian features. Again, over the years of the university, this building has been cut and carved in lots of different shapes. So we've formed these openings here to match the existing. So we've cast in moulds for these new stone sills and stone heads for the windows with coined briquettes on the end, with these shaped bricks ready to receive new tuck pointing, and with the curved arch detail as a replica of the original 1860s features in Trent Park. This part of the stables was used as the tack room, blacksmiths and canteen for all the stable staff. So these windows were very high status. They had small rosettes on them, small little glazing panels. So in there, the guys would have actually done the repairing of the saddleries and all the horse bridles. So this is an original stone window that we're restoring, carefully removing old paint and taking the sashes out, get them all back to working order and then reinstall them. In this case here, there was no window at all. So we've installed a new stone window to exactly match the mouldings and the detail on the one next to it. Once this is glazed and the little rosettes are on the new critter windows, it'll be a seamless blend between old and new for the restoration of the stables building. This is what I call my window report or window passport. So for each of the 140 windows in the house, I've created a schedule of repairs for each one. What we can see here is an important part of the restoration process. Michael is carefully taking the paint off the original critter windows to expose the rosettes and the fine details of the glazing beads. This is all very important for the heritage, to bring it back into life, to make it usable. Where we don't have the sashes anymore, or the windows are too far gone to repair, we have these fabricated new critter window sections to match up entirely. And we fit a small seat frame on there, and the new rosette sits on there to match how the original sashes and frames looked. Once complete, the stable block will take its final form of 7 luxury converted homes, set in the beautiful surroundings of the wider Trent Park.